Hey guys, it's Vanessa and welcome back to my channel. I have another What's for Dinner to share with you guys, where I show you the meals that my blended family of 6 and I shared throughout the week. But this isn't any What's for Dinner because this week is another collab with Courtney from the Briles Bunch. I first found Courtney's channel just a couple months ago and I can't stop watching amazing What's for Dinners hauls, and she's doing day in the life. I'm telling you, if you like my channel, you will love Courtney at the Briles Bunch. Head on over to her channel, let her know that I sent you. And if you're new from Courtney's channel, welcome, and I hope you stick around. All right, let's get into the meals for the week. Okay, if you guys follow me on Instagram, then you knew this was coming. I made a trip to Halifax last week. That's where my parents live. And if you know anything about Donairs on the East Coast, King of Donair is in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and cannot be replicated. I wouldn't even try to make this for you guys. I would never be able to. It's basically very thinly shaved ground beef packed with incredible spices. I've heard it's comparable to a gyro or a gyro. But here on the East Coast, we do Donairs, and I'm going to show you guys how I transfer this meat into egg rolls. All right, guys, if you are new to making egg rolls, closing them up is pretty basic. You just need a dab of water on your finger to moisten the edges, and that will help them adhere to itself. So I am rolling these up not like a spring roll, but more like a traditional egg roll, where you just roll them all the way up, seal the seam up the middle, and close up the edges. I prefer this style egg roll because I like that crunchy, crispy edge on the end from putting it in the deep fryer. And these are perfect. I'm gonna make enough for us to have tonight for supper, and you'll see in a little bit, I'm actually going to freeze some so we can have some for later. Now, the amount of filling that you're putting in these egg rolls is totally up to you, and I also understand that maybe everybody's not going to have access to a pound of Donair meat, but you could put anything in an egg roll, you guys. You could make sweet desserts with chocolate and marshmallows and graham crackers. You can make cheeseburger egg rolls. You can basically put anything in them and stuff these babies as much as you want. I was just being a little bit stingy with this meat because I'm not going to be going back to Halifax for a month or so, and I wanted these to last. So I decided to go ahead and deep fry these on my stovetop. I've been really liking using oil in my Dutch oven as opposed to my deep fryer lately. I just find it's a lot easier cleanup and I don't seem to go through as much oil. So I'm just slowly putting these into the oil, letting them float, because if you drop it right in, it might stick to the bottom of the pot for a second, and I didn't really want it to do that. And I'm only putting 3 at a time because I don't want to crowd them. And these probably took, well, as long as they take to get brown, because everything's already cooked in the middle, so I'm not actually trying to cook any of the ingredients. I just laid a ladle over top because for whatever reason they didn't want to stay flipped over. Once they were a beautiful golden brown, I went ahead and drained them on a drying rack with some paper towel underneath. Now, this is something that I can show you guys how to make. Leave a comment down below if you'd like a recipe. Donair sauce. It's basically sweetened condensed milk and sugar, and it's all things amazing. And if you've never tried it, you need to. Guys, if you want me to experiment with making Donair meat, leave a comment down below and we'll do that together. But these were amazing. Just look at these. So good, you guys. Now, all I did to be able to freeze these is I laid them all out on some wax paper and set them in my freezer for about an hour or two until they flash froze, and then I could throw them right into a baggie so that they wouldn't stick together while they were in the freezer. And I'm just gonna tell you the truth that we ate most of them the next night because they were so good and we had the munchies. Okay, so if you guys watched my cook and clean with me video this week where I reorganized my fridge and made the one pot chili mac, this is that recipe. So skip ahead if you don't want to see it again. But that video basically gave you behind the scenes shenanigans of what happens when I make these videos. So if you're curious to see that, head on over there after this video and check it out. I will leave the link down below. This was a recipe by Mandy in the making, and I am really big on one pot pastas or one pot anything. It's just so simple, and typically they taste amazing. So this was very reminiscent of an old chili hamburger helper that I used to have when we were kids. It kind of reminded me of like a goulash, but with cheese in it. So super good. I think you guys are gonna like it. I've been rambling. Hopefully you've seen all the ingredients here that I'm showing you guys, but like I said, I will list it below, and ignore that can of mushrooms. Again, poor thing, didn't make the cut. First off, make sure that you have a large enough skillet. If not, maybe use a deep Dutch oven. That would work. I'm just showing you that this Pampered Chef meat masher tool is not all that it's cracked up to be. I find the meat gets stuck in the crevices, and even when I spray it with canola oil, I'm going to find other uses for it, but I honestly think a wooden spoon or spatula works best to really break up and cook your meat. Plus, it's just helpful when you're flipping your meat. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up an onion, and it's too funny because this onion was on its last leg and my knife wasn't sharpened. So anyway, you need to see the behind the scenes video because this was ridiculous. So I'm going to go ahead and cook the ground beef and the onions all together. I didn't get too fussy about making my onions very small. One, my knife was ticking me off, and two, I kind of like bigger chunks when I'm eating a dish like this. So I'm going to go ahead and add my spices, which is some chili powder, cumin, paprika, and some salt. Super basic spices, you guys, but I'm telling you, it flavored this dish like you wouldn't believe. If you noticed at the beginning of the video, I showed you guys some chicken broth. I didn't end up using it. I wasn't sure that the beef broth would be enough, and it was. So 2 cans of beef broth, about 3/4 of a can of this tomato sauce, and a can of diced tomatoes. And then I'm just going to stir it all together, bring it up to a boil, and I'm going to add 2 cups of uncooked pasta. That's 8 ounces. Trust me, because I had to Google it. Go ahead and give it a good stir. Make sure all your pasta is covered, and you can let that sit for about 12 minutes or until it looks like your pasta is cooked. Now, one thing I forgot to show you guys as well is you're obviously going to need cheese for chili mac. You need about 2 cups. I chose to put sharp cheddar. You can put whatever you'd like. I add a few handfuls at a time and stir it in just to make sure that it melts in really well. And I also want to add that the pasta she used was shells, but I was really not having any luck at finding shells that were the right size at Walmart or Superstore or anywhere for that matter. They were super tiny, and I was really annoyed by that too. So I just went with elbow macaroni. I mean, that's pretty reliable. Between this dish and the lasagna hamburger helper that I make, it is definitely going to be a staple coming this winter. Okay, speaking of winter staples, meatloaf steaks and mashed potatoes. So this one was inspired by the Wads. I saw her make little mini meatloaves using stovetop stuffing and I thought it looked amazing. So I have this big pack of ground beef that I pulled out of the freezer. I have some chicken stovetop. I have some new white potatoes. I thought they looked really good and we would make some mashed potatoes. Also, let me know what your favorite stovetop is. Even when we're making turkey dinner, we always buy chicken. I just like it. And I decided to throw a little bit of this Memphis sweet and spicy barbecue sauce on top with it. And I'm just going to mix together these two gravy packs of brown gravy and mushroom gravy to use to spoon over our potatoes. Now I grabbed these potatoes intentionally because they looked nice and new. I did have to give them a little bit of a scrub, you can see there, but I'm lazy. I did not want to peel potatoes today, so I'm going to chop them up in little pieces I showed you there at the beginning so that they'll be easier to cook and easier for me to mash. I do plan on using an electric mixer today to mash them up because I want them to be extra whipped, and I find sometimes with the peel it can be hard for me to do that with a masher. So I'm going to go ahead and season them liberally because it's really the only point I'm going to add any salt. So personally, I think meatloaf is highly controversial. I think everybody does it a little bit different and everybody tweaks it to their preferences. For me, I throw everything but the kitchen sink in there sometimes, and sometimes I keep it super simple. So today, all she added was stovetop mix and her ground beef. But I did remember before it was too late that she had mentioned she soaked her stovetop in a little bit of milk for about 5 minutes because that was one of the comments she read on the recipe that she found. So I just added some directly to the mix. I didn't think it would hurt it. I'm guessing it's because the stovetop can be a little bit crunchy if you don't try to soften it first. I am going to form these little meatloaves directly onto this Pampered Chef stoneware that I have. Look how dark it's getting. I love it. It's years old. The darker it gets, the better it is, you guys. So this was kind of a spur of the moment decision. Originally, I was going to do little mounds because that's what she did on the Wads. But as I was doing it, we were in a pinch for time. We're trying to get out the door and I wanted these to cook a little quicker. So I flattened them out into basically Salisbury steaks, if you want to call them that. There's no onions involved in this, but I pretty much am calling these meatloaf steaks. Yeah, so they're basically steaks cooked in the oven out of ground beef. I don't know. Try them out. They were really, really, really good. I had a little bit left, so I did end up making 3 of those little mounds, and we ended up giving them to the dogs. I am going to bake these at 375. They took around 25 to 30 minutes. I will say they were a little bit dry and overcooked, so maybe cook them a little less than that. And I did crank the heat for the last few minutes to around 425 to try and caramelize them a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and prep my mashed potatoes. Straight up butter, milk, pepper. That's it, guys. Whatever you like. I know a lot of people like to put sour cream and other things. For us, I just like to keep it simple. And like I said, I wanted them extra whipped, so I brought out the mixer. Let me know down below what you guys think of my little Ness hacks lately. So this is one from my mom that she always did when we were kids. Throw a piece of paper towel over your pot of mashed potatoes so the condensation doesn't get in on them while you're waiting for everything else to cook. Here they are, the beautiful meatloaves. I did put a little squirt of barbecue sauce on top of each one. I just never grew up eating sauce on my meatloaf, so it's not something that I'm used to, but you guys do you. Tomato sauce, barbecue sauce, ketchup, whatever you'd like. Ideally, I probably would have let these alone and just used the gravy that I made, but they were still delicious. All I can say is this meal is making me excited for cold weather. So I have an abundance of chicken in my freezer, and tonight I decided we're having chicken fajitas, and one of the packs was a little bit freezer burned, but we're making it work. I have this pack of Old El Paso fajita mix that I'm going to use, and I'm going to marinate my chicken in some lime juice with the mix, and I'm going to just spice it up extra with garlic powder, cumin, and chili. And I have a 3-pack of peppers here. I actually only end up using 2 because it does just end up being Jamie and I tonight. And I'm going to chop up my very last onion, and I have a few wraps left over of different sizes, and it's just kind of one of those mishmash suppers. So I caved and I bought the baggie holder, you guys. I absolutely love this. I can't believe I existed ever without it in my life, if I'm being honest. I got like a 4-pack for 20 bucks. Highly recommend it. Even when I'm just pouring soup stock in there, it's just so much easier. So I'm rambling, but I'm going to take a big bag, which is a large gallon-sized bag, and I'm going to pour the chicken that I have sliced up already into the bag, and I'm going to add about 5 tablespoons of olive oil and about 3 tablespoons of lime juice. You could add more or less depending on how much of the flavor you want. I'm going to empty the package of fajita seasoning, and I'm adding probably about a teaspoon of garlic powder, same for the chili powder, and I'm also going to add a little bit of cumin. Cumin is really more like for chili and fajitas and has that taste, so it's up to you if you guys want to add more or less. I just like to kind of spice up the fajita mix a little bit. Now you're just going to pop it out of your little holder, make sure it's sealed up pretty well, and then give it a good zhuzh, mix it up, and put it in the fridge to marinate. I would say for an hour or 2, even half an hour if that's all you have. Even if you're doing it while you prep your veggies, that will make a difference. I ended up marinating mine for about 2 hours. Now I'm going to go ahead and chop up all of my veggies, and you can make them as big or as small as you'd like. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and cook up all of that chicken. No need to add any oil to this pan. It's a non-stick skillet, and there was a lot of olive oil in the marinade. Once it's cooked, I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the heat and set it aside in a bowl just so that I don't overcook my chicken, and I'm going to go ahead and throw the veggies right into that same pan. I did use a lid for a little bit to try and make sure my chicken's cooked. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always super paranoid about serving people undercooked chicken, so it's always a little bit extra cooked. So it did start to dry out a little bit where I didn't add any extra oil, but I don't mind. I added about a tablespoon of canola oil to my vegetables. I went ahead and seasoned them with some taco seasoning and some cumin as well. And I probably only tossed these on high heat for about 2 minutes before I went ahead and added my chicken back in. And then I just cook it all together for about another 2 minutes, and it was good to go. These turn out perfect every time when I use lime juice, olive oil, and that seasoning. They really remind me of going to a restaurant or like a Montana's fajita. They were so good. All right, you guys, these were my meals for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a minute to head on over to Courtney's channel. Tell her I said hello. All right, guys, I will see all of you in my next video.